Hello, this is Dr. Terry Daniels with the Rhythm of Business, and I am with Hayleigh Banks this afternoon, who is the HR Generalist with UW Solutions out of the Louisville, Kentucky area. This is the people version of the Rhythm of Business, and I'm excited to have Hayleigh with us today, and just excited to hear all that she's doing, all they're doing at UW Solutions, and just more about her. And Hayleigh, just to get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and UW Solutions and all that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, my name is Hayleigh Banks. I am an HR generalist for UW. Been in HR for a little bit now. Have thoroughly enjoyed it. I always joke that I had a little bit of a non-traditional start in it. I graduated from WKU with a major in cultural
A,
anthropology.
a woman after my heart, right there.
Yep. Go Tops. But yep, graduated with a cultural anthropology degree and a minor in business. And kind of realized early on that publish and perish wasn't for me. I wasn't really into the academic bent, but
Mhm.
I loved people's stories. That was the entire reason I got into that field is I just love talking to people and hearing from them, hearing their stories, their perspectives, all that good stuff, and getting that opportunity to talk to so many different people all the time. So through that business administration, I was able to connect with some really cool folks in the field of HR that kind of got me onto this track. And, the rest they say is history from there. So I haven't looked back on it. I love that I get that opportunity to talk to people, but my job is also helping other people have good days at their jobs. So very fulfilling for me there. Very excited to continue learning and growing from that.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about from a UW Solution standpoint, what are some of the initiatives that you all have established that builds and fosters that collaborative culture?
Absolutely. That is, I think, the biggest thing that any company really needs to focus in on is building not just a community of collaboration, but that sense of connection as well. I mean, your folks are spending most of their lives in a workplace environment, and work is work, but you don't want it to be miserable either. So one of the biggest things that we do and that we've really been trying to make sure that we're integrating with our management as well and getting them to buy into it and have their collaboration is we do monthly all hands meetings, and it
Mhm.
is truly all hands. So everybody stops what they're doing. Everyone is expected to come down. Doesn't matter if it's office, production. We do it at the changing of shifts about midday so that everybody has a chance to be there. Management is expected to be wrapping everything up from production so that everything can kind of cease for that 30-minute period as we go through it. Our VP of operations comes to it. I mean, finance, IT comes to it. Everybody attends these all hand meetings. And we go through, I mean, the business. You've got an operations section. We go over the budget and how we're doing and what our turnover is. We go over what our metrics are, what are we at for the quarter's budget, that kind of thing. And we don't pull punches. Our folks know exactly what everybody else knows. And we really believe that fostering that sense of honesty and transparency is really what is going to help buy in that connection from folks because they know what's going on. They don't feel like they're just churning away for a mystery, just handing it over and they're done for the day. They genuinely know what's going on with our company. So kind of in addition to that, we also, do the fun metrics and things like that. We do there's multiple different recognitions that happens every all hands as
Okay.
well, where we choose someone who's been outstanding since the previous all hands, and they get some goodies out of that. There's a team that gets chosen as an exceptional performance team for that outstanding month, and we highlight all of those goals and achievements that have been met. That is one of the biggest successes that we have been having, just because it really is fostering that sense of connection and unity, as well as just giving everybody an option to speak and to be heard. It's not just for our management to speak, but we also give the opportunity for our floor folks to speak at that as well and bring forth any questions. So that is definitely at the forefront right now of some stuff that's going on for really helping with that sense of community.
Hayleigh, right down the alley, the voice of the people, it really does
Mhm.
matter. So that is awesome. How
Yep.
does that help you all when it comes to, we know that we're in a war of talent, and
Hmm.
sometimes employees are not they're always looking for opportunities for better jobs, dollar
Mhm,
more here, dollar 50 more there, whatever. How,
mhm,
how do you battle this war for talent in terms of
mhm.
attracting and then beyond that, retaining talent?
Yeah, for sure. So with attracting talent, you hit the nail on the head. It really is a war for attracting that talent. Modern technology is fantastic in that there's so much at your fingertips when it comes like from a job hunting standpoint to really find your niche and like get into that. But it also, I feel, has the ability to kind of foster the grass is greener syndrome where you're like
Mhm.
just looking for the next thing to see what's better, see, see what's coming along. I think part of what really helps with attracting talent is just reinforcing that transparency from a company stand base. So making sure that you're honest and transparent with your job posting, not glossing over things that you think, well, maybe we don't, no, you need to be honest with what that job is actually going to look like so that when you do get that talent in there, it is not only the right person for that position, it's someone who's interested in genuinely what that position is, but you have a better shot at retaining those folks because they're not going to come in and just get blindsided by something. If the job turns out to be not the way you portrayed it. So really being open and honest upfront with that job posting, which is just that initial kind of snapshot that your talent is going to have of that position. But then once they are able to get in for an interview, making sure that they are getting the opportunity to speak with the people that they would directly be collaborating with, right? So like their supervisor needs to have a really strong hand in that because not only do you want to get a feel for that person, but that person needs to get a feel for you. I think promoting kind of that transparency and honesty off the bat really sets you up to have a good retention effort because you're starting out of the gate on the same footing. You're not kind of hiding the curtain, but more so with attracting that talent, just also being a company that somebody wants to work at. Work is work, like I said, but making sure that you sustain that honesty through everything, but also just keeping in mind the kinds of things that do make a workplace great. Besides just the honesty, making sure that you are in the market with your pay. I think that's not even really a bar to hit. That should be the baseline, and should always be, looking at that and making sure you're playing fairly on that aspect. But making sure that if you have the ability to be above that baseline, go for it. Make sure you're doing those kinds of initiatives that want to bring the kind of talent that you want in. So, pairing those initiatives where you can, where you're doing your, engagement activities, making sure you're staying competitive and high with your benefits, that, they're good, attractive benefits for the kinds of talent that you're wanting to bring in. But then just starting off that conversation completely honest and transparent from the start really does go a long way with helping retain folks.
Absolutely. So as you think about the rhythm of business and the voice of the people,
Mhm,
and you mentioned the word engagement, and
mhm,
and I know that there's a high
mhm,
correlation between engagement and organizational performance, right?
mhm.
So what are some of those obstacles to keeping employees engaged, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest ones is convincing folks that you believe that the engagement activity, whatever it is you're doing, is worth it. I think the easiest way to lose that buy-in from folks is to make it obvious that you as an HR person and your management are all like, it's just placation. We just want you to be happy. Everybody hush and do the thing. I think it's really important to start off from a place of you truly believe in it as you're
Mm,
setting up that initiative, but also whatever it is that you're doing engagement wise, be it a recognition, be it some kind of contest, award, a lunch if you hit a quota or a goal, right? Whatever it is, to be sourcing that from your folks as well,
mm,
to give them the opportunity to let you know the kinds of things they're interested in. But that also helps them foster kind of that sense of control over their own job, right? Like folks want to have some sort of influence on what it is they're doing. Work might be work, but you don't want to just feel completely at the whims of, whoever your supervisor director is, so on and so forth. So giving your folks to have like that hand in your engagement activities is also a very big step in making sure that those engagement activities do connect with folks, because then it's not just something that you as a supervisor manager are kind of foisting down on your people. It's something that they have helped suggest and work to build, So, it's, going to be something that people are really more interested in, but then also just making sure that you are involved in it as well and truly believe in the initiative as you're planning it.
Awesome. So you know, and I know that this is the rhythm of business, right? And there are times when leaders and employees may not be in rhythm, or
Mm-hmm.
any conversation can be off rhythm, right?
Right.
How do you deal with when there's a lack of rhythm between
Mm-hmm.
leadership decisions and employees' receptivity to that leadership
Mm-hmm.
decision?
Yeah, for sure. I think step one is in general to just try to make sure that we really are, when those decisions are being made in the first place, trying to take into an account how that will impact our workforce. I do deeply believe that employees, like your workforce, are the greatest asset a company has, and they
Mhm.
do need to be at the forefront when you're making these decisions. Because without your workforce, you don't really have a company, right? So at any opportunity to be able to think of how that's going to affect your workforce, that needs to be a part of it. But obviously, with business, sometimes decisions have to be made that are not going to be popular by everybody. And that just kind of is the way it is. Um, Making sure that you, as the person that are going to be communicating that you understand that decision, that you have as good a grasp as you can on why it was made, what the effects are going to be for folks to really kind of think through that, as well as, have all the information on why it was done. Is if you can explain it to your folks to kind of help them see why that this decision had to be made,
Mhm.
that also tends to go a long way to, okay, fine. People may not be happy with it, but it's a heck of a lot easier when you can kind of understand why a decision was made, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. I'm always a person that's going to kind of beat that horse to death on that honesty and transparency,
Mhm.
but really engaging with your people like people, that are intelligent and understanding and, are also in this business too and want it to succeed because that's their livelihood, right? But explaining things where you can, making sure you're equipped with the knowledge to be able to explain it effectively. And then also just being receptive to any and all questions and attitudes you might get after that.
Mhm.
Shutting down the conversation is never going to help. Trying to suppress dissent or what have you is never going to be beneficial in the long run, when it comes to, maybe an unpopular decision that had to be made. But making sure you have taken the steps to foster an environment where people feel like they can come question it. They can come ask questions if they don't fully understand afterwards, or if they just need to vent because, they don't agree with it. Making sure that that is okay for them to do, so that they can vent those frustrations out instead of letting it fester. Really, just anywhere you can kind of have that transparency and openness, even if it's unpopular, people are going to be much less soured after it if they feel like they understand it, or at the very least they can still come ask questions and talk about it without feeling like they're just kind of being pushed off, in that decision.
I love that. That is so true, Hayleigh, in that just
Mm-hmm.
keep the dialogue open. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I like what you said. Don't suppress dissent or keep
Mm-hmm.
let allow questions come in. So that was, I mean, I love that response. I think that's going to be value added for a lot of people as
Mm-hmm.
they hear that. How do you manage through change? What are some of the things you all are doing to manage? I know businesses are changing, they're trying to keep up with
Mm-hmm.
all the technology changes or innovation changes, AI,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is using out there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you all manage through change and to keep your
Mm-hmm.
employees with it?
Yeah. So the answer might sound a little bit like the previous one, but it is open dialogue. Providing as much information as you possibly can. Obviously, you can't, provide total information all the time, but as much as you can and not surprising people with it as much as possible, really does make a significant impact on people being able to kind of digest and swallow things as stuff is changing, as well as making your workforce as involved as they can be.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that somebody that's doing that job is going to know more about that job than I do if I'm not doing it every day. And if we're making changes to their role, they probably should be included in some of the talk about it. They're going to be the person that's doing it every day. We're going to be better set to make an effective change if we're including those folks that are going to be changing along with whatever decision we make. So keeping that open dialogue and trying to set folks up for success as much as possible, giving them as much information ahead of time as you can, explaining the why behind things. I'm a big fan of town halls, just, outside of all hands meetings, but having a dedicated time to talk about something if it's going to be a significant change, not trying to bundle that in with a bunch of other information, like the all hands meetings tend to be, but setting aside some designated time for folks to get together and ask questions and to talk about things and to lay stuff out as much as possible ahead of times. I think the worst thing you can do with any kind of change, significant or minor, is to spring it on people. Because in general, a human's reaction tends to be of, suspicion if something gets, sprung on us pretty quickly. It's never fun for anyone involved. You're not going to have, a whole lot of smoothness with that transition if you're springing it on people. And even if people are unhappy about a change, if they know about it ahead of time, it's going to be a lot less resistant to implementing that, and not dumping it all at once if possible when you're making that change, but planning out a process to implement it so that it is as smooth as possible, that you're not just, especially with larger changes, you're not just doing a complete 180 overhaul in one go, but really doing that future planning where you can to help kind of build out what that change process is going to look like, and then communicating that so people know what to expect, to know what's coming down the line, and to not get blindsided or surprised by it. Like I said, that really makes a difference when it comes to people not automatically having a resistance to something that's going on when they know it's coming, they know why it's happening, and they know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. So if you had last question, Hayleigh, thank you so much for that. If you think about those HR leaders that are out there, those organizational leaders that are out there, and they're trying to figure out how much do I invest in trying to build rhythm in my organization and build my culture and believe in my culture will make a difference. If you're speaking to them, why should they value trying to build a collaborative workplace, and what value does that bring to the organization itself and its performance?
That's a great question. You will not have a long-term successful business if you do not have a good collaborative culture. It just can't happen. You might have some short-term success, but if you do not have a good, strong foundation upon which that business is built, you will not have that long-term success. I've seen it happen. I've heard from other people about it happening. You're those pillars that you build it upon, they'll leave, they'll turn over. If you don't foster that sense of connection, that good collaborative workplace culture, you simply cannot be successful in the long run. You cannot build a good, sustainable, solid business off of it. Your people are what make a business successful. And if they don't have trust in it, if they don't believe in what they're doing, if they have no motivation to help, develop that sense of culture and community, they're also not going to put forth the effort to whatever it is your business is about. It simply cannot be done. It is a crucial foundational point with building a business. It's the same as investing in good operational machinery, good leadership. It goes hand in hand, in my opinion. You have to have that in the back of your mind with everything that you do, and take it into consideration with anything that you're doing.
Hayleigh, you speak like you have years of wisdom. So, you speak like years of wisdom, and I really appreciate that because it will pay dividends for a very long time when you get more people involved. And you said that like you've been doing this 120 years, just so you know.
Well, I appreciate that. That's high praise indeed. I definitely love what I do. And I, see the value in good, solid HR. And I, I, I hope other people do too. It's something I am trying to achieve as well, is to help people understand that.
That's awesome. So thank you so much, Hayleigh, for giving us some time and wisdom, sharing with the audience. To the
Yeah.
audience, this is Hayleigh Banks, HR Generalist with UW Solutions out of Louisville, Kentucky area. If you want to learn more, we hope you follow us on another episode
Yep.
of the Rhythm of Business, the People, the Voice of the People series. Thank you so much for
Yep.
joining. Hayleigh, thank you again for participating. Have a great one.
Awesome. Thank you.